Hey there, curious minds. Welcome to this intellectual journey. Have you ever wondered how great civilizations were built without a single written book? How laws, history, and wisdom were passed down through entire generations without missing a beat? The answer is more powerful than you might imagine. Today, we're going to uncover one of humanity's best-kept secrets, the invisible power of the spoken word. A force that leaves no trace in stone, yet is capable of building empires, moving mountains, and defining the very reality of millions of people throughout history. It's the software that runs on a culture's hardware. Stay with me, because what we're about to explore together will forever change the way you see stories, myths, and perhaps even your own memory. This isn't just a trip down memory lane, it's an immersion into the oldest and most potent technology humanity has ever known, a technology that is still very much alive today. Before we dive in, I wanted to tell you a bit about the visuals you're seeing. To bring this narrative to life, I've used AI tools to generate the images. So, think of them as a canvas, a way to illustrate the ideas and the atmosphere of what I'm sharing with you. They won't always be an exact representation, but rather a visual companion to help your imagination take flight with me. I sincerely hope you enjoy it. To understand this power, we must first journey to West Africa, specifically the Sahel, a vast, semi-arid region bordering the Sahara Desert. Here, for centuries, history wasn't written, it was sung. The guardians of this living memory are known as griots. But to call them mere storytellers would be a mistake. A griot is a human library, a walking encyclopedia. From childhood, they are trained to memorize genealogies spanning hundreds of years, epic tales of kings and queens, and the complex legal codes that govern their societies. Their mind served as the national archive for empires like Mali. Imagine the pressure. A single error in the recitation of a genealogy could spark a war between clans. A misinterpretation of a legal history could lead to injustice. The training of a griot, as anthropologists who have lived with them tell us, is incredibly rigorous, based on mnemonics, music, and repetition. Their instrument, the kora, a 21-string harp lute, isn't just for musical accompaniment. Each string, each melody acts as an anchor for memory. It's a mnemonic device, a tool that helps organize and retrieve vast amounts of information. Music is the key to unlocking the doors of this mental library. The famous Epic of Sundiata, the story of the founder of the Mali Empire, survived for centuries solely in the memory of the griots. It's longer than Homer's Iliad. This demonstrates that oral cultures are not cultures without memory, but rather cultures with a different and extraordinarily developed form of memory. Now let's cross the Atlantic. Let's travel to a completely different landscape, yet one with an identical need, the soaring heights of the Andes. Here, before the arrival of the Spanish, the mighty Inca Empire connected millions of people without a writing system like ours. How did they do it? Instead of griots, they had the Quipucamayos, the masters of the quipu. The quipu was a complex system of knotted strings. For a long time, it was thought to be simple accounting records. But more recent research suggests something much deeper. They might be a form of three-dimensional writing. However, the quipu didn't function alone. It relied on an oral narrative that provided context and meaning. The Quipucamayos didn't just read the knots, they recited the stories, censuses, and chronicles associated with them. The quipu was the hardware, but oral narration was, once again, the software that brought it to life. But beyond the quipus, the fabric of the empire was held together by powerful myths. Stories that explained the origin of the world, humanity's place in the cosmos, and crucially, the divine right of the Incas to rule. These weren't just fables for entertainment, they were tools of social and political cohesion. Consider the origin myth of the Ayar brothers, or that of Manco Capac and Mama Oclo emerging from Lake Titicaca. These stories, told and retold in every corner of the empire, established Cusco as the center of the universe, the navel of the world, and its rulers as direct descendants of the gods. These narratives functioned as an unwritten constitution. They defined mita, the rotational labor system, and Aini, the concept of communal reciprocity. People didn't work for the state solely out of obligation. They did so because their worldview, shaped by these myths, told them it was the correct order of the universe. So, we have two examples, the Sahel and the Andes, thousands of miles apart, on different continents. And in both cases, we find the same fundamental truth. Oral tradition isn't a primitive form of communication. It's an incredibly sophisticated and efficient social technology for organizing humanity. It works by creating a shared reality. When everyone in a community knows the same stories, they share the same values, the same fears, the same aspirations, and the same understanding of how the world works. This shared worldview is the glue that holds a society together, far stronger than any written law. Think of it this way, oral stories are like the DNA of a culture. They contain the genetic code of a people's identity. They transmit essential information for survival, not just physical, but cultural as well. Which plants are medicinal, which are poisonous, how to navigate the territory, how to resolve conflicts. Andean creation myths, for instance, often encode knowledge about astronomy and agricultural cycles. Farmers knew when to plant and when to harvest, not from a paper calendar, but from the stories they told about the stars and the gods. Mythology was applied science. Similarly, in the epics of the Sahel, you'll find encoded lessons on diplomacy, military strategy, and resource management. The story of a wise king who successfully negotiated peace wasn't just a tale, it was a study guide for future leaders. Oral memory was a repository of practical wisdom. This brings us to a key idea. The power of oral tradition lies in its flexibility and its living nature. Unlike a written text, which is fixed, an oral story can subtly adapt to each new audience and context. It updates with each new generation without losing its essential core. A griot doesn't simply recite from memory like a machine. They interpret. They emphasize the parts of the story most relevant to the audience before them. If there's a land dispute, they'll focus on the legal precedents from the epic. If a prince is about to be crowned, they'll highlight the virtues of past great kings. This adaptability is a survival advantage. It allows oral cultures to respond to crises, environmental changes, or external threats in a way that rigidly text-based cultures cannot. History is alive and breathes with the community. It's not trapped in a dusty book. Moreover, the act of telling and listening to stories in a community creates an incredibly strong emotional bond. It's not a solitary activity like reading, it's a communal event. It strengthens group identity and reinforces social ties. It's the ritual that transforms a group of individuals into a people. Now here's where the story takes a tragic turn. The arrival of colonialism and the imposition of alphabetic writing often led to these traditions being scorned. They were considered primitive or unreliable. Colonial administrators couldn't conceive of a law not on paper or a history not in a book. When a griot dies, it's said in Mali, it's as if an entire library has burned down. With the imposition of Western educational systems, the chain of transmission was broken. Younger generations were sent to schools where they learned to read and write, but they lost the oral traditions passed down by their ancestors. In the Andes, something similar happened. Inca myths were actively suppressed, deemed pagan. Quipuas were destroyed. The cultural software was essentially wiped clean in one fell swoop. A new narrative, a new history, a new religion was imposed to make them easier to govern. This process is called epistemicide. It's a complex word that means the murder of knowledge. By invalidating a people's ways of knowing, you invalidate the people themselves. It's a form of conquest far deeper and more lasting than military might. It conquers the mind, the soul of a culture. Yet, and here's the astonishing part, this invisible power is incredibly resilient. Despite centuries of suppression, many of these traditions survived. They went underground. They blended with the new imposed narratives in a process called syncretism. They created something new, while preserving the ancient core. In the Andes, ancient deities didn't disappear. They often merged with Catholic saints. Pachamama, Mother Earth, is still revered, sometimes under the guise of the Virgin Mary. Stories survive by changing their disguise, once again demonstrating their incredible adaptability. In Africa, griots didn't vanish. Some became world-renowned musicians, bringing their stories to new global stages. Others remain vital counselors in their communities, resolving disputes and keeping the flame of memory alive, far from the ears of former administrators. And this brings us to the present. You might think that in our digital age, with instant information and unlimited storage, oral tradition is a relic. But you'd be wrong. This ancestral software is still running, often in the most unexpected places. We just have to learn how to see it. Think about the stories your grandmother used to tell you. Those weren't just anecdotes. They were life lessons, fragments of family history, the moral code of your clan. Those stories tell you where you come from and therefore who you are. They are your own personal epic, your own oral tradition. Think about national myths. The story of founding fathers, legends of resistance, tales of a glorious past. These narratives, repeated in schools and political speeches, function exactly like Inca myths. They create a shared identity and justify the existing social order. Even in the corporate world, storytelling is touted as the most powerful marketing tool. Successful brands don't just sell products, they sell a story, a myth. The myth of the athlete who overcomes all obstacles, the myth of the rebellious genius in a garage. It's the same ancient principle with a new purpose. What all this reveals to us is something profound about the human condition. We are not purely rational beings who process data. We are narrative beings. We understand the world through stories. It's our default operating system. It always has been and likely always will be. Oral narratives teach us that knowledge isn't just cold, objective information. True knowledge, the kind that endures and shapes cultures, is wrapped in emotion, in rhythm, in the warmth of the human voice. It's knowledge that is lived and felt, not just read. Next time you hear an ancient myth, don't dismiss it as mere fantasy. Ask yourself, what practical knowledge is encoded here? What social structure is it justifying? What profound truth about the human experience is it trying to convey? Listen with the attention you would give a griot. We've seen how spoken words, without leaving a physical trace, act as an invisible code that can build, sustain, and adapt entire civilizations. From the guardians of memory in the Sahel to the architects of worldview in the Andes, the power of oral narrative is one of the most potent and underestimated forces in human history. This power hasn't vanished. It has simply changed form. It continues to operate in our families, in our nations, and in our global culture. It's a reminder that, despite all our technology, we are still fundamentally the same creatures who sat around a fire, listening to stories to understand our place in the universe. Oral tradition isn't just the past, it's a lens for understanding the present. It shows us that the way we tell our collective stories defines the reality we inhabit. The narratives we choose to amplify have the power to unite or divide us, to build or to destroy. It's an immense responsibility. Cognitive neuroscience studies today back up what the ancients knew instinctively. Our brains are literally hardwired for stories. We process and recall information much more effectively when it comes in narrative form. Stories activate multiple areas of the brain, creating an immersive and memorable experience. When you listen to a good story, your brain can synchronize with the narrators. This phenomenon, called neural coupling, means you're experiencing the narrator's emotions and thoughts in a very direct way. It's a form of mental fusion, a deep connection that raw data can never achieve. That's why orality is so persuasive. It doesn't just present an argument, it makes you feel it. The cadence of the griot's voice, the rhythm of the kora, the emotion in the myth's telling, all of this is designed to bypass purely rational skepticism and speak directly to the heart of the human experience. In the Andean world, the concept of senti pensar captures this idea. It means thinking with the heart and feeling with the mind. True knowledge isn't a cold abstraction, it's a wisdom that engages the whole being. Oral narratives are the ultimate expression of this integrated knowledge, of this senti pensar. The loss of these traditions isn't just a loss of folklore, it's a loss of ways of being and knowing the world. It's the erosion of cognitive diversity. Every oral tradition that vanishes is like the extinction of a species, a unique form of human intelligence gone forever. Fortunately, there's a resurgence today. Indigenous movements worldwide are working to revitalize their languages and oral traditions. Technologists are using modern tools to record and preserve the voices of the last elders who hold this knowledge. It's a race against time. This rediscovery teaches us a lesson in humility. It shows us that our modern text and data-based way isn't the only, nor necessarily the superior way of understanding the world. Oral cultures possess a wisdom about community, memory, and connection with nature that we have forgotten. Thus, the invisible power of the spoken word is both a legacy and a challenge. The legacy is the wealth of knowledge and cohesion that has allowed humanity to flourish. The challenge is to learn to listen again, to value these narratives, and to understand that the stories we tell ourselves and how we tell them have the power to shape our future. Memory, as the griots demonstrate, isn't just a simple data storage unit, but a creative and communal act. Each time a story is told, it's recreated and made relevant for the present. It's a dynamic process, a continuous conversation between the past, present, and future, something a hard drive can never replicate. In the Andean context, geography itself is part of the narrative. A mountain isn't just a rock formation, it's an apu, a guardian spirit with its own history and personality. Myths are written into the landscape. To read them, you don't need a book, you need to walk and listen to the earth. This intimate connection between history and place creates a profound sense of belonging and ecological responsibility. If the earth is an ancestor speaking to you, you don't exploit it, you nurture it. Oral narrative fosters a relationship of reciprocity with the environment, a lesson urgently needed in our world today. Returning to the Sahel, the spoken word holds such power that certain words can only be uttered by certain people at certain times. It's understood that words create reality. They don't just describe it. This concept, known in linguistics as performativity, is central to oral cultures. A griot's blessing can ensure success. Their curse can bring ruin. This isn't superstition. It's the recognition that reputation, legitimacy, and honor, built entirely through spoken narrative, are the most valuable currencies in these societies. The contrast with our culture is fascinating. We live inundated with written words, with ephemeral texts on social media, Perhaps because of this abundance, we have devalued the power of the word. We've forgotten its weight, its capacity to build and destroy worlds with the same ease. Oral cultures remind us that every word counts. That memory is a treasure to be cultivated and protected. That identity isn't found in what we possess, but in the stories that unite us and give us a place in the great chain of being, connecting us with those who came before and those who will come after. Ultimately, the invisible code we're talking about is simply the collection of stories a culture chooses to tell itself. These stories define what is good, what is true, and what is possible. Change the story and you change the world. It's that simple and that profound. Both the songs of the Sahel and the Andean myths, despite their superficial differences, serve the same essential function. They are technologies of memory, tools of social cohesion, and maps for navigating the complexity of human existence. They are proof that there are many ways to be intelligent and to build a civilization. Next time you read about a people without history because they had no writing, pause and question that assertion. Their history is there in their songs, in their rituals, in the names of their mountains and rivers, and in the memory of their elders. We just need to learn how to read in that language. This journey through oral narratives shows us that the history of humanity is far richer and more diverse than what's found in our libraries. There are vast continents of knowledge and wisdom that exist outside written text, waiting to be heard and valued. The survival of these traditions in the digital age is a testament to their power. It demonstrates that no matter how much technology we surround ourselves with, there's a fundamental human need for connection, community, and meaning that only the human voice telling a story can truly satisfy. Think about it. The most basic and fundamental interaction between a parent and child is the bedtime story. It's in that intimate act where the first seed of culture, language, and imagination is planted. It's the continuation of an unbroken chain stretching back to the dawn of our species. The big lesson here is that writing didn't replace oral tradition, it simply added to it. We continue to live in a profoundly oral world. Politics, education, personal relationships, everything depends on the spoken word. Recognizing this is the first step to understanding the power narratives exert over us every single day. Authority in an oral culture doesn't come from citing a text, but from the speaker's reputation and wisdom. It's based on trust built over a lifetime. This creates systems of accountability very different from our own, where we often hide behind the written word. Andean myths about the creation of the world from chaos aren't just an explanation of the past, they're a guide for the present. They teach that order must be constantly maintained through rituals and correct behavior. The stability of the cosmos depends on human action. Similarly, the epics of the Sahel, with their complex heroes who possess both virtues and flaws, don't present a black and white world. They teach critical thinking, moral ambiguity, and the importance of judging a leader by their actions rather than their words. They are lessons in psychology and governance. So this invisible power is, in reality, the power of narrative structure itself. The ability to organize events into a cause and effect sequence, to imbue them with emotional meaning, and to transmit them from one mind to another. It's the fundamental technology that made us human. Writing allowed us to externalize memory, to store it outside our brains. It was an incredible invention, but it came at a cost. Perhaps we lost some of the memorization capacity and communal connection that reliance on internal memory required. Today, in valuing and studying oral traditions, we are not being nostalgic. We are seeking to recover a balance. We are recognizing that human wisdom is diverse and that an excessive reliance on a single form of knowledge impoverishes us all. It's an act of intellectual expansion. The future of this knowledge depends on us, on our ability to listen, to respect, and to build bridges between worlds. It depends on recognizing that a story told by an elder in a remote village can be as valuable as a manuscript in a university library. It's crucial to understand that these narratives are not static. The griot who sings today isn't a mere copy of one from 500 years ago. They incorporate current events, new technologies, and modern challenges into the framework of the traditional narrative, keeping it always alive and relevant. Similarly, in the Andes, myths are reinterpreted to address the struggle for land, identity in a globalized world, and the climate crisis. Pachamama is no longer just fertile earth, she is also the planet that needs defending. Stories evolve. This dynamism is the ultimate proof of their power. A tradition that cannot change and adapt to new realities is a dead tradition. The software of oral tradition is constantly updating itself to meet the new challenges of reality's hardware. Therefore, by studying these cultures, we are not looking at a frozen past. We are seeing a living laboratory of how human beings use stories to survive, to find meaning, and to build resilient communities. It's a masterclass in the art of being human. Knowledge isn't just in the what of stories, but in the how. The rhythm, the pause, the tone, the interaction with the audience, all of it is part of the message. It's a holistic form of communication that engages all senses and that our screen-centric culture often forgets. Next time you watch a political debate, hear an advertisement, or even engage in some gossip, try to see the underlying mechanism. What story is being told? Who is the hero? Who is the villain? What world order is being established? You'll see this invisible power everywhere. Ultimately, the ability to weave narratives is perhaps the most important survival tool of our species. It allowed us to cooperate in large numbers, plan for the future, and transmit knowledge across time. We are, above all, the storytelling animal. So the next time you tell a story, even if it's just an anecdote to a friend, remember the lineage you're part of. You are the heir to the griots, to the Quipicamayaks, to all the storytellers who have sat around the fire since the dawn of time. You are wielding an ancient and sacred power. The memory of the world isn't just in books or on servers. It's in the human voice, in the song a mother sings to her child, in the myth an elder shares with the young. It's a living, fragile, and extraordinarily powerful treasure. Let's cherish it. The true legacy of these traditions isn't just the content of their stories, but the reminder that the deepest form of human connection is simple. It's a voice that speaks and an ear that listens. In a world of digital noise, perhaps that's the most important secret we can relearn. When the world seems chaotic and meaningless, stories give it shape. They give it a beginning, a middle, and an end. They give us a role to play. Oral narratives are proof that since the very beginning, we have been the authors of our own reality. We have the power to tell a different story. I hope this journey has opened a new window for you into the richness of human experience. May it have made you appreciate the power that resides in a simple, well-told story. It's a power we all possess and all wield, whether we're aware of it or not. Next time you encounter a culture that seems strange or different to you, seek out its stories. There you will find its heart, its logic, its humanity. Narratives are the universal language that connects us all, beyond the boundaries of language or geography. From the deserts of the Sahel to the peaks of the Andes, the human voice has woven the fabric of reality, built worlds, and given a home to the mind. This invisible power isn't lost. It's just waiting for us to pay attention again and listen with an open heart. Stories remind us that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. They connect us to the past, guide us in the present, and plant the seeds of the future. They are the golden thread that binds all generations of humanity in one single grand conversation. In summary, oral cultures are not a primitive chapter of our past, but a perennial source of wisdom about the communication technologies that make us human. The invisible code of narratives is the most enduring and adaptable software we have ever created. We've traveled across continents and through centuries to rediscover the most fundamental force of civilization, the invisible power of stories. Next time you tell or listen to one, remember you're participating in the oldest and most powerful act of human creation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on this intellectual journey. It's been an honor to explore these profound ideas with you and share the astonishing resilience of human memory. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. If this content has provided you value and sparked your curiosity, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. What family or local story has shaped your life? Share your own oral tradition. Until next time,